Hi guys, Jester Bell is here, and I went to see Avatar: The Way of the Water with my friend the other day, and it was quite the experience. And I'll just give you a little bit of rundown of what happened. So me and my friend got there, and we endured a lot of previews, and then the movie began, and then we were with it, and we had a great time. And then as the movie went on, I looked over to my friend, and she was like fidgeting in her seat, and I was fidgeting in my seat, and then she eventually was checking her phone. And we were both getting the exact same experience with the film, where we were just getting really disengaged with it and bored with it. And so that's going to give you an idea of the experience I had with the film. But let's get into the details a bit. I'm not a fan of Avatar. I'm a fan of James Cameron's work, but I am not a fan of Avatar. I really love The Terminator, that first movie. I love Aliens, and so I really appreciate the work that James Cameron has done as a filmmaker in the past. Avatar, I actually did not watch it until last week because I remember it coming out in 2009. I was like 10 years old at that point, and I remember ads playing for it constantly. Avatar's the biggest movie ever. You have to see Avatar. I never understood what people were excited about. I never saw it. I remember when it came out on Blu-ray, it was everywhere, but then everything just kind of disappeared and it wasn't there anymore. And so people just did not, they went to see Avatar because of the special effects and the experience, but the story and the characters did not form a connection with people. So going into this film, I went to see it just to see it, to have knowledge of the film and what James Cameron is doing with his craft, but I didn't have high expectations for it. However, like I said, once again, when the movie started, I was really into it. There were the movie is about the family of the Sullys, Jake Sully's family, and the Sky People come back, and eventually Jake Sully decides that they have to move away from the forest Na'vi and integrate with the sea Na'vi so that they will be able to hide from the people trying to get revenge on him. So that's the basic story. And at the core of the film, there is a very strong family dynamic between the characters, and most of the individual characters themselves are very distinct in their personalities. And we've just had so many bad movies this year. I mean, I said in my ranking the movies of 2022 list at the time, in the middle of the year, I thought that we'd had a pretty good year for movies with Top Gun Maverick and Elvis and Everything Everywhere and all of those movies, but it got really, really bad. So I think that it just shows how bad my standards have gotten after things like Black Adam and other movies like that. But just having characters that were distinct and some relatability to the family dynamics, that was engaging to me, and I was with the story. However, there's a fundamental problem with the movie. There's a lot of little things that you can pick through, problems with the dialogue, maybe some plot holes, various things that there are plot holes that really annoyed me in this film. But there is a core problem with it that killed the entire thing for me, whereas I would have found it entertaining. Even as someone who's not into Avatar, I would have found it a very entertaining movie. It's too long. That's why my friend was checking her phone at halfway through. That's why I was fidgeting in my seat. It's like you'll get a scene of character development or where the story is progressing, and then you'll get what feels like a half hour to 45 minutes of swimming in water and just sort of soaking in the special effects, and it'll just go on and on and on, and then another thing happens, and another thing is introduced, and then another thing, and another thing, and another thing, and then you'll get an action scene. Like, for example, I was like dead, and then finally the movie started bringing me back when one of the Sully kids goes out for some bullies who trick him, and he's out by himself and he's lost, and then a creature attacks him, and then there's like a ticking clock where he has to hold his breath, but he wants to hide from this creature, and then he has to make a swim for it. So that started to bring me back, and then we were right back to the slowness of the movie. And it just went on and on and on. And, it's just a horrible feeling to have in a movie. And I felt it with many movies this year where it's just like, when is this going to be over? I don't want to have that feeling when I'm seeing a movie in the theater. I want to not want the movie to end. I want to be enjoying myself. I want to not feel like my time is wasted. But that, like I said, that's what killed the movie for me. Not the dialogue, not the very, very overt environmentalist themes. James Cameron has no subtlety whatsoever when it comes to the environmental themes in the Avatar movies. That's been said a million times before. But even that, I could accept that, all of this, if it was just if it was just shorter, if you just took out some of the scenes or shortened some of the scenes, and you can do that. One of the best things that I've ever learned as a writer myself, a learning writer, is less is more. You know, sometimes you think that if you throw everything in, then it's going to make it better, but it doesn't. You end up sort of drowning your best points if you do that, and that's what I think that James Cameron did, which brings me to the title of this video, The Way of James Cameron's Ego. The problem with this movie is that no one could tell James Cameron no with it. If the movie should not be 3 hours long, over 3 hours long, it just shouldn't be. It needs to be a lot tighter, especially considering this is 13 years after the first Avatar. People's attention spans have gotten so much shorter with YouTube and TikTok and all these things, but James Cameron thinks that it's 2010 and that he can release a movie like this and do whatever he wants and get the exact same response as his first movie, if not better. But he just can't. But he has such an ego on his shoulders. I mean, even the story that I think it was he that revealed that with Avatar 3, he wanted a 9-hour cut, like a 9-hour completely VFX rendered cut of the film that he could then cut down. Do you know how much time and money that would cost, and how abused the workers behind that? We're already getting stories of VFX artists getting abused. But can you imagine what that would do to just work on 9 hours of film that is never going to be released? What a waste. Just so James Cameron can sit in his chair and pick what he wants here and there. So, but I'm watching this movie and it's way too long, and that's what's going to kill it, because Avatar, even though it doesn't have people with a lot of nostalgia for it or a lot of love for that original movie as time went on, it does have name recognition, and it's the only movie that's coming out this December, and it has some generally relatable stuff in it, like the family dynamic and some action scenes, you know, all the bells and whistles. So it could have been very huge this Christmas, and it had a good opening, but it did not have as huge as they thought. It doesn't look like it's going to be as big as the first movie right now, and this was like the most expensive movie ever made, like $460 million production budget. That's not even counting in what they must have spent on marketing. It's ridiculous. But apparently, James Cameron said this as well. He admits all this stuff, that whenever the people behind the scenes would object to the money he was spending, he would say, "Shut up. I made you guys $2 billion twice over. I can do whatever I want with this." And that's why he cost them so much. So, but it's a shame, because in this case, James Cameron's own ego ruined his own film. It would have been maybe a movie I would have even watched again, but it was just way too long. I felt like I had been out of cryogenesis sleep when the movie was over, and that's just such a shame, because James Cameron has made very good movies in the past, but at this point, his brain is too big for his body, and he just thinks way too highly of himself, and that's what is killing this film. Maybe, I don't know what excuses he's going to make. Pride comes before a fall, but I have a hard time believing he's going to change over and rethink how he's been behaving, and just continue on with what he's doing with these movies. But anyway, so that is my review of Avatar: The Way of Water. It would have been very good, but it was just way too long. I would give it a 6 out of 10, honestly. But before I go, I want to give a big special shout out to my 2 new patrons, Vincent and Jay, aka Dakari. These are my very first 2 patrons. They both became generous donors at the $10 level, which means they're going to get access to a lot of exclusive behind-the-scenes content that I'm going to be posting on my Patreon as soon as I get myself together, because Christmas is keeping me really busy. So big shout out to you 2. You don't know how much it means to me to finally having some people sponsoring me, and the amazing things that I'm going to be able to do with this channel as more and more people help me out with that. If you would like to become a patron like Vincent and Jay, then you can check out the link in description. $5 is the entry point, and I will have some amazing stuff to post on that Patreon if you join. In the meantime, I will have more videos for you in the near future, and I will see you guys next time.